Welcome to our channel, Brit News Update. We're looking today at the UK government and these discussions around new measures for kids' social media use.
That's right. Yeah, there's been quite a bit of reporting on this from places like The Mirror, The Guardian, and BBC News.
Okay.
And it seems the government is exploring some, well, potentially significant steps.
Right, so let's get into that. What are these specific proposals we're hearing about?
Well, initially, the Sunday People and The Mirror reported ministers were looking at some quite concrete things.
Like what?
Things like a possible 2-hour daily cap on using individual social media apps. For children, obviously.
2 hours per app.
hmm
That could still add up across different platforms, couldn't it?
It could, yeah, that's a fair point, but it's a specific limit being floated.
Well,
And also the idea of a 10 p.m. curfew.
curfew, so cutting off access after 10.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
That seems to be part of the thinking reported.
Okay, and what's the push behind this now? Who's driving it?
Well, the technology secretary, Peter Kyle, has been quite vocal. The BBC and The Guardian have quoted him talking about the addictive nature of some apps.
Right, tackling addictive behaviors.
Exactly. He said he wants to understand what a, healthy online childhood looks like and remove the barriers to that.
So this isn't totally out of the blue. It connects to laws already in place.
It does, yes. It builds on the Online Safety Act. Peter Kyle actually mentioned this to the BBC.
Okay.
He pointed out that while the act deals with illegal content, there's a big deadline coming up.
Ah, the July deadline we've heard about.
That's the one. The Guardian and The Mirror have highlighted it too. By July, platforms could face, well, pretty serious sanctions.
Criminal ones even?
Potentially, yes, if they don't ensure they're supplying age-appropriate material. And Mr. Kyle himself, according to the BBC, has previously said the current setup for internet safety is uneven and unsatisfactory.
Which suggests he feels more needs to be done.
Precisely.
So what about the campaigners, people who have been pushing on online safety for a long time? What's their take?
Yeah, they're definitely weighing in. Ian Russell, Molly Russell's father.
Yes, his perspective is obviously very important.
Absolutely. He's criticized the pace of action, speaking to the BBC and The Mirror. He basically feels the current approach isn't enough.
What does he want to see?
He's calling for, stronger and more effective legislation, something that really changes how these platforms operate, rather than just, as he put it, sticking plasters.
Mm-hmm.
He feels parents need more decisive support.
And England's Children's Commissioner, Dame Rachel D'Souza.
She's also calling for bolder action. The BBC reported her view is quite stark, really.
How so?
She essentially argues that if companies can't make their platforms safe for children, they just shouldn't be in those spaces, full stop.
Mm.
And she made the point that it doesn't matter how long a child is online if the content they see is harmful. Even a short time is too long then.
That raises a big question for you listening, I suppose. How easy is it to enforce these rules, given where the tech companies are based?
That's a really key challenge. And the BBC flagged it up. Most of these big tech firms are US-based.
Right.
So the UK trying to impose strict rules could cause some international friction. It's complex.
And aren't there already tools parents can use, controls for time limits and things?
Yes, absolutely. Apple, Google, they offer parental controls for setting time limits, curfews, that's been pointed out by the BBC and Guardian.
Okay.
And some platforms themselves have features like TikTok's default 60-minute limit for under 18s or Instagram letting you set your own limits. The BBC mentioned those.
But the issue is getting parents to actually use them effectively.
It seems so. Reports suggest the take-up is, well, quite low.
Why is that? Do we know?
One reason cited in the Guardian and BBC reports is just the sheer complexity. So many different apps, different settings. It can be overwhelming for parents to navigate it all.
So it's a real mix that we've got these potential new government rules, quite strict ones, building on existing laws that maybe aren't seen as fully effective yet. Then strong calls from campaigners for fundamental changes.
Yeah, really pushing for systemic shifts.
But also these practical hurdles, like the global nature of tech and the fact that current tools aren't always widely used.
Exactly. It really highlights the tension, doesn't it? Is the answer tougher top-down rules or empowering parents with better, simpler tools, or forcing a bigger change in the platforms themselves? There's no easy answer apparent from the reporting.
Goodbye. See you next video.